All right, so the question I am responding to this week asks, do you think that the growing number of millennials involved in politics will have a larger effect in the 2020 election? And do you consider millennials to be a forgotten people? Well, of course, greater participation of a voting bloc or a certain demographic would definitely affect the election, because then there are new issues that are brought to the forefront, new things that politicians that are running are trying to consider. And also, I think that millennials would definitely have a big effect on an election if they are very involved, because, let's face it, the older voting blocs don't really know how to use social media, and social media was a big player in the previous presidential election. I assume they mean presidential elections or congressional elections. They're saying 2020, so I'm assuming presidential, but they could also mean congressional elections. But social media is definitely a very valuable tool for elections, and millennials definitely use that more than older voting blocs. And millennials being a forgotten people, well, I would definitely say that if a voting bloc or demographic does not vote or are not involved in politics, then why would the politicians care? Why would they address the issues of a certain bloc that doesn't even bother going to the polls? So I think if more young people do go out and vote and become more involved in politics, then politicians will realize, hey, if we want to get reelected, we got to pay attention to the people who are involved in voting, because they pay attention to the people who are involved in voting. Politicians don't have time to appeal to every single person in the country. They just appeal to the voting blocs, certain demographics like young people, old people, white people, black people, and they appeal to the needs of the blocks rather than the individual people. So if there are more millennials that make up a more active voting bloc, then they will be talked about more as if they actually matter, and if their specific issues actually matter to the politicians who are running. So yes, more involvement of millennials would definitely have a larger effect on the election because of the social media and because of the increased participation of the voting bloc.